activities. One is when new foundations are proposed for existing non-conforming structures. One is when non-conforming structures are relocated. And the third is when non-conforming structures are reconstructed or replaced. And so the applicant tonight is proposing to demolish the former Cliffs Antiques building at 370 US Route 1 and replace it with a new building that is actually a bit smaller in footprint than the existing, but due to constraints with the required yard setbacks in the B3 Business 3 district, they cannot meet the 75-foot stream protection overlay setback to the high water line of the stream. The applicant originally proposed to use the same footprint as the existing building, but has since revised the dimensions of the footprint in order to resolve the existing building's non-conformance with the required front yard setback to US Route 1, while remaining no more non-conforming with the stream setback than the existing building. And I referenced in my staff comments the section of the ordinance, section 12C4, where this shows up as being one of the responsibilities for the board. And as you listen to the applicant's description of the project and what they're proposing to do, we can then move into the things that you need to consider in determining whether or not they've met the setback to the greatest practical extent. And those are pretty simple types of things. You're going to look at whether or not the footprint, whether or not the foundation is a factor, what other kinds of constraints are in the way of moving the structure back. Specifically would be some of the other imposed setbacks, such as the front yard setback and so on and so forth. So I think with that, it's probably best that we turn it over to the applicant, let them give you the proposal, and I'll try to share my screen and bring up the proposal and some of the plan documents so that you and the viewing audience can see those.
Great, thank you.
Hi, Sashi Meisner with Garin-Turgeon Architects. Brian, I can actually share my screen and go through what I submitted. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right. Okay, so like Brian said, the site is the old Cliffs Antique Shop at 370 US Route 1. This is just photos of the existing building. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. What we're looking at proposing to do is a new building. So we initially did look at reusing the existing building, but it's just too much. It's too decrepit right now, and it wouldn't be a smart move to reuse the existing building. So we're looking at a new building, and these are just some real preliminary sketches of what the new building would look like. The existing site, you can all see this, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a survey for the existing building outlined in red. We have the front setback defined here at 35 feet along Route 1. The side setbacks are no problem with those, and the rear setback, there's no issue with those. The existing building is about 9 feet over the 35-foot setback, so it's actually a little bit further than that. I didn't count this little entrance, but the brunt of the building is about 9 feet over the setback. And this heavy dash line here is a 75-foot stream setback. So the existing building is quite a bit into the stream setback. And I just went and took the area, the buildable area for this lot and hatched this red hatch in there so you can see what is actually buildable for this lot, which is almost an acre of property. It's 40,975 square feet. So what you're left with is about a little over 3,000 square feet of buildable area. That's not in a great shape for an actual building. So it's definitely a challenging site. The good thing about it is it is a gentle slope. It's pretty much flat all the way until you get to the edge of the stream here, and none of this would be impacted. Show you the plan of what we're looking to do. So this location was approved a few years ago with a Main Mall, or no, it's not Main Mall. It was an eye care facility, and they were going to reuse the existing building. So these are some of the layouts that were already defined with that project that was approved. So as far as one entrance, closing this entrance, these are some of the things that we just kept with this new proposal because it had already been seen and approved. So just moving forward, it might change a bit, but this is what we started with to get an idea of what would happen here. The new building that we would be looking at locating here is about 200 square feet less than the existing building. And what we did was we're meeting the 35 foot front setback, but we held this rear corner here, so we didn't get any closer to the existing building, and we removed this portion of the building and tried to get as conforming as possible with the project. We do feel that it's going to be better for the site in general to have it stable, to have it landscape, to have improvements so that there isn't erosion into the stream and things like that. It seems pretty stable right now. This is the edge of gravel for the parking lot right now. So you can see that we're not really extending any further than is already developed area for this property. Let me see if there's anything else. I think that's about all that I have to say about what we're doing. I can answer any questions that you might have. But yeah, we're hoping that it's definitely an improvement for this area of US Route 1 where the adjacent properties have started to clean themselves up and Hummers across the street. So we hope that'll be a nice addition to this neighborhood.
Yeah, this property's been kind of sitting there stagnant for a while. And so now seeing this, you can see kind of why the challenges that it presents.
Yeah.
So, when I look at the ordinance here, it kind of does go through some of the requirements that, when they look at the property. So I just kind of want to make sure that we address kind of all the different things that were brought up. So I don't think we need to worry about subsurface sewage disposal systems, because I believe that is something that's already taken care of. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's on public sewer.
Okay. Okay. And so then we have to look at the size of the lot, which she told us, which was about an acre. She said the slope of the land, you said, was a gentle slope and somewhat flat. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, and you said you felt like there would be not much soil erosion. You're not changing. It looked like a lot of the parking lot, making changes like that. And what about the foundation of the current property? I mean, you said generally that it's, I think we all know driving by, it's not in great condition.
No, that would just be demolished. I don't know if they would just fill it in, or I don't know exactly what they would do to demolish the existing building. I believe the new foundation would just be a slab on grade.
What type of foundation is there now?
I think there's a basement. I'm not exactly sure, but I do believe that there is at least partial basement. I don't know exactly though.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
I have a question, Madam Chair.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can we get off the shared screen just so I can see the board members now, if that's okay?
Yes,
That would be helpful. Thank you.
sorry.
That's great. Yes, Mr. Hebert.
Thank you, Sashi, for sharing your screen. That was very helpful. One quick question. Did you mention what year the original building was constructed?
You know, I don't know that. Brian, do you know that? It's been there for quite a while.
I was gonna say it's fair to say at least 20 or 30 years.
The
Yeah.
assessor's records say 1950.
Okay, so
That's what I was trying
a
to
lot
pull up.
more than that.
More accurate.
Right. I mean, to me, I'm looking at this, and you're not getting closer to the stream. It's an old building. Yeah, that's my question was how old is the building? And based on construction methods from the 1950s, anything that could be done to that footprint today would be certainly an improvement. So my question was answered in the 1950s. So
Okay.
Okay. Did any of the board members have any other specific questions? I know we don't have like specific criteria we're going through here, but there are qualifications that we need to consider.
a question: is there any coordination that has to be done with DEP or EPA or any state entities because of how close you are to the water? Special permitting required or anything like that?
I do believe that there is a DEP permit that would be required for this. I don't know if it's I believe it's just like a permit by rule, but all of that went. We have records of that from the previous approvals because we were involved in the previous project. And I believe, I didn't look deeply into them, but I believe it's a permit by rule application that would need to be filed for it.
Okay. So regardless, and we go and approve this tonight, Brian, they would, Sashi would still need to obtain that prior to any construction on the property. Is that correct?
Yeah, they would actually still have to go back to the planning board for site plan approval, even though the former project received site plan approval. This is a new project, so they'd still have to do that. I would expect that would be a relatively quick review, but that still has to happen. And as part of that, any other permits from any other regulatory authorities would have to be demonstrated at that time.
Okay. Thank you.
Questions? Doesn't look like it. All right, if we don't have any other questions, I'm going to close it and open it up to the public. I don't know if we received any letters or emails or phone calls, Mr. Longstaff.
No, Madam Chair, I received no emails or questions. And actually, part of that is because this is being a relatively new thing for the zoning board. It does not require a butter notification. It's not like a variance appeal. So no abutters were notified unless they were looking at the agenda for the planning for the zoning board of appeals meeting. So there are no public comments.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, then we'll close the public part since there's none of that. And we'll kind of dive into our finding of facts here. And I think I'm just going to call on each board member and kind of get their feel. I think generally, I think this is a great idea. I live in Southern Scarborough. I drive by this building multiple times. I actually got excited when I saw a truck in the parking lot last week because you're like, oh my gosh, is something actually happening? Because you're right. I mean, there's been a lot of great improvements along that road. And I think this seems like a great proposal, especially kind of with what's been going in along Route 1 there. I think it's great that you revise the footprint to come more in conformance, so you're no longer in violation of the front yard setback. So already I feel like that's a great step in the right direction. One of the things we're looking at is in no case shall a structure be relocated in a manner that causes the structure to be more non-conforming. I think this is great because they're already taking a step towards being more in conformance, and they've tightened up the back so they're not, going into the stream the way the current building is. She spoke about the quality of the building and the foundations and just how old the property was. So why don't we go through and I think I'll just kind of say if each board member wants to speak on, what they feel would make this approve or anything that would make them concerned. Mr. Karen?
Thank you very much. I agree with everything that Madam Chair mentioned previously, that this would be an improvement to the existing building and property. I appreciate the efforts that have been undertaken to not only provide the board with a complete set of drawings to help us understand the change in the existing property to the proposed, but also the efforts to keep it to keep it as far as possible from the existing stream, not to encroach beyond what the existing property has, and to make it in more conformance to the additional boundaries of the site.
Thank you. Mr. Hebert?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would point out that the applicant has stated that it's going to be approximately 200 square feet less footprint space than the original structure, which in my mind is a plus, especially as you have stated that it's already a non-conforming lot. So anything we can do to improve the site, improve the structure, as well as come a little bit more in conformance is always a plus in my mind. They've pointed out that it's going to be no closer to the stream than the existing footprint of the building. And to me, having driven by and having familiarity with this building, it is, to me, the definition of decrepit, sort of an old and seemingly neglected building. So to see a facelift here, to have it removed, demolished, replaced, and replaced with a slab, they said there might be a basement or possibly maybe a dirt floor crawl space underneath. So having a slab there was certainly less impactful environmentally. You don't have to worry about having a sump pump in your basement or water infiltration to your building that could potentially compromise in that way. And regard to the houses that are nearby on Willowdale Road, I think they would probably appreciate the facelift in the area. And those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Mr. Howe?
Well, it's funny, I've been noticing this building myself recently for some reason, and it is an eyesore. It doesn't belong there anymore, and I mean the improvements they're looking at doing look really good, and the impact seems to be no more than what we've got sitting there right now, decaying. So that's all I have to offer. Sounds like.
Ms. Torrance?
So I was pulling up the assessor's record at the same time that Mr. Longstaff was, and it does not look like there's an existing basement there, which is kind of probably a good thing because there's probably nothing to fill in. Probably just a matter of, reset up that slab and go. I appreciate the fact that they've brought everything is coming more into conformance. I also think it's with appreciation that there's a triangular building envelope in a very bizarre, order to this particular lot that there really wouldn't be anything else you could do. So I really think that they've done an excellent job of rebuilding or, making a plan to rebuild that is appropriate for this site. And so I'm in full support.
Great. Thank you. Okay, with that being said, do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve this appeal. Yeah.
Can I second?
It's not actually an appeal.
Okay, the setback determination.
Do we have a second?
Can I second?
Okay, let's go down the vote. Mr. Karen?
Yes.
Mr. Hebert? You're muted.
Excuse me, rookie error mistake there. Yes.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
and Ms. Torrance,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. So this is approved.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good
Good
night.
luck with planning.
Thanks.
Thank you, Sashi. I want to point out too, just as a comment, that before October 1st, this wouldn't even be possible because part of the other amendments that were made to the shoreline zoning ordinance would have prohibited the use of the structure in the stream protection district because it was considered a district and not an overlay. So part of the amendment was to move it to an overlay so that the underlying zone's uses would be the permitted uses. Before, as a stream protection district, commercial uses were not permitted. So Cliffs was a non-conforming existing use which had been discontinued for more than 12 months and therefore couldn't be reestablished without a miscellaneous appeal to the Board of Appeals. So this, it was kind of working with the realtor and the designer team and everything. We were able to kind of get the amendments into place so that they could propose this replacement. And so it's everything kind of came together because that's why that eyesore sort of stayed where it was for the last 2 or 3 years because it couldn't be replaced because it had been discontinued for 12 months.
We like that decision.
Yeah, I think it worked well.
All right, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sashi.
Great. Thank you, everybody. I don't know if anyone has any comments, questions, concerns.
One again.
Madam Chair, the only comment I would have, again, just to remind everybody, I'm not sure what November's meeting is going to look like. It may go back to that hybrid sort of semi-in-person, semi-virtual, whatever, because I believe the election will be over by that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think council chambers will be in use as they are tonight. But I'll certainly notify everybody ahead of time so that they can make that decision as to whether or not they want to show up in person or continue the virtual thing. And by the way, your internet looks great, Madam Chair. I don't think you froze once tonight, so that's great.
A lot better now.
And the only other comment is, again, we are still a member short. We need an alternate to fill out the 5-member voting members and 2 alternate positions. So if anyone's out there listening or watching this and has an interest, or if any of the board members know of anyone that's interested, we'd certainly be welcoming an application for the board.
Definitely.
And,
I like the appeals like we had tonight. I think that's going to be a great improvement for Route 1. You know, it's nice to do those things.
Yep.
Yeah, well, and this is going to be new, and I don't think the planning board heard a lot of these set back to the greatest practical extent types of reviews, but you'll probably see a few for sure. And they are, I think, maybe more cut and dry than some of the appeals that you have to hear. So I think you'll enjoy looking, it's really more fact-based, and, there's not a lot of room for interpretation. I think it's going to be pretty clear. They're either meeting or they're not. And so that's something that you guys will see more in the future, obviously. And it'll be different, but I think it's not as complicated maybe as some of the variances that you have to look at.
Sure.
All right.
Great.
Madam Chair, I'll motion to adjourn.
Second.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Doreen. Thank you, everyone.
Good night. Good night.